Hi, morning. So, I'm Saket. I'm a technical director with KPMG, and I look at the water and the wastewater sector, also parts of climate change, ESG, uh, and sustainability on solid waste management, plastic waste management as well. So the way I have structured the session is first of all, I'll just put a context to it in the sense where we are in terms of investments, in terms of what is happening in the country. I'll just try and give a broad overview, and then I'll loop you in with some of the questions that I had, shared earlier in my email to the larger group, and then we can have a discussion around it. Meanwhile, if the audience has anything or any question which you would want to get deeper, you'd want us to get deep into, we'll definitely be very happy to take those questions. Okay? So, there are two things. One is water conservation, and the other is rejuvenation of water bodies. So I was lucky in more ways than one that when this first rejuvenation efforts, after a really long time, after the National Lake Conservation Program, the first rejuvenation efforts and thrust on water body rejuvenation came only in around 2018 or 19, I believe, when the Jal Shakti Abhiyan was launched. So it was Ministry of Jal Shakti which launched the rejuvenation of water bodies and Jal Shakti Abhiyan or Jal Shakti campaign. Following that, our secretary at that point of time, Durga Shankar Mishra, who is right now the Chief Secretary in Uttar Pradesh, he asked the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to design a similar Jal Shakti Abhiyan for us in urban areas. So, and I was at that point of time, I was with KPMG and I was working with Amrut, and I had this fortunate opportunity to be part of writing the guidelines for the Jal Shakti Abhiyan in the urban areas along with Manish Thakur and colleagues from SEPT, colleagues from NIUA. So that's how it is. And so I have seen the way the thrust on rejuvenation of water bodies has grown over the last 5 years or so is partially due to the recognition of the fact that water is right now a resource which has its own constraints. There are a lot of pressure on the external environment. There is a lot of pressure due to climate change. There is a lot of pressure on water bodies and due to degradation of water bodies, pollution of water bodies. So there is a renewed thrust. There is a recognition in the policy corridors that water body rejuvenation and that the government has to push the envelope in terms of water conservation and water body rejuvenation. Now coming to the water conservation efforts, water conservation, rainwater harvesting has always been there as part of the building bylaws in most of the states. However, that has not been reinforced or that has not been enforced. Enforcement is something that has always lagged at the ULB level, at the city level. It does not mean that water conservation was not happening, but the efforts have been fragmented at best, I would say. So now, in the last 5 years, things have quite, with the focus of the Prime Minister and with the thrust of the Prime Minister, catch the rain as part of the Jal Shakti Abhiyan initiative. I think there is a renewed focus, and this was also included in the Amrut 2.0 mission guidelines as one of the key areas of investment and one of the key areas of reforms as well. Now with this, I will request my panelists to, Sumit, share your experience on some of the things that you have done in the past. Also, while you share your experience, I will request you to share the inevitability of the focus that we have to lay upon on the water conservation as well as the rejuvenation efforts.
Thank you, Saket, and good morning, everyone. It's good to be here at this panel. So I am Sumit Kumar Gautam. I work as a technical expert with GIZ. It's a German Development Corporation. And currently I am involved in this bilateral cooperation between these two governments, under which German government is providing expertise support to the National Mission for Clean Ganga, the Namami Gange program, one of the most ambitious program. And why I am saying most ambitious? I will just quickly put a value that from 2014 and 15 until 30th of November, a total of 38,000 crore rupees. This is the amount of projects which have been sanctioned. That is the level of activities which is happening to clean the river Ganga. Now, if we look at the Ganga river, so basically there has been scattered efforts. It started all 1985, I think, with the Ganga Action Plan 1, and then through the focus was on the sewage treatment, creating STP, putting sewerage line, that structure. And slowly as the program evolved over the years again and again and again, and now this Clean Ganga mission has actually emerged as one of the most integrated mission towards the water conservation, if I can talk about, where the entire river basin is looked at as a one entity, including all of its flora, fauna, people, culture, demography, industry, and you tell what. Everything is integrated into one. I hope you know that as per the constitution, water is a state subject. And there are challenges when it comes to, decide for the state and then avoid any kind of a rift between two states regarding the water issues. But Ganga has actually emerged, this Namami Gange mission, as a one very fine example that how this coordination can be done among the different entity to actually achieve the objectives. Now, so under this program, we have been supporting this Namami Gange mission by bringing the European experiences. So if we talk about the Europe, the rivers like Danube, Rhine, Elbe, they are also transboundary rivers. They also face the similar kind of challenges in cleaning, and then European Union, German government, and all the UMS governments, they could actually achieve something. There are good examples in terms of European Union Water Framework Directive, a uniform approach for the river basin management. So under our project, we are trying to customize this approach and bringing to the Indian context so that it can be helpful. Like as such, we look at every water body within present within a basin, whether it's a groundwater, surface water, flowing river, tributary, or wetland, as a one unit, one system. And the wetlands, water bodies, be it pond, lake, these play very important role when it comes to certain aspects of environmental management or the ecosystem services. First and foremost, the rivers, where like you do not have a like the rivers which are not perennial in nature, like rain-fed rivers or forest-based rivers. These water bodies actually play a very good role to provide the subsurface water so that the water, the river can remain alive during the non-seasonal period. Similarly, to maintain the environmental flows of river, it is very important as water bodies are rejuvenated. And of course, with the fast urbanization, we are talking about the so much of STP is coming, treated wastewater is coming, and how these water bodies can be used not only to sustain themselves, having the more water, and also to indirect recharge of groundwater. So my experience has been that when we look at the basin level, every water body is integrated into that, and wetlands basically play a very important role for the overall health of a river basin. So just I will take one more minute here. So currently we have been developing using this European approaches, the river basin management plan of its kind, first of its kind in India for the Tapi river basin and the Ramganga river basin. While Ganga's scale is like catchment area goes up to more than 8 lakh square meter, the Ramganga, one of the small sub-basin of Ganga, is just 32,000 square kilometer. And this small river basin has at least 2,500 water bodies. And they provide or they discharge different ecosystem services. I would just name Naini Lake in Nainital. That is one of the water bodies in the Ramganga basin. Sat Tal, Bhim Tal. and then other dams in the foothills of the Uttarakhand. And they become, their health actually also generates a lot of revenue to the local bodies. So it's a win-win situation for both, for the ecosystem as well as for the local governance to manage, conserve and protect these water bodies.
Thank you, Sumit. You very well outlined the efforts that the central government is taking and why is it important to look at the water bodies from the basin level perspective. That's very crucial because I think till now, or say till very recently, the effort, and still I think in the urban areas, the focus is largely on rejuvenating on water bodies and not looking at water bodies as part of the basin. And which I think is an implication because of the fragmented institutional structure that the government has. And there are so many agencies managing, handling, or controlling water resources, water management, water supply, and therefore it becomes difficult for any one particular agency to think about water or water resources comprehensively. So that's unfortunately that's the constraint that India has. Now, because the time is very limited, Sumit, I will request you to highlight or maybe say what are the three most critical factors which the government, the people, the cities or the government, local governments in the country should look at if they want to preserve or conserve their water bodies and also rejuvenate their water bodies in urban areas particularly.
This is a very good, I would say, question here. So from my experience working with the water bodies, river, basins, industries and everything, I would say the three things which should be immediately looked at. Government has already recognized that these three challenges has to overcome, and but efforts, like government is putting effort, but I would still reiterate that we need a good base to overcome those challenges. First and foremost is the convergence. Now we have n number of programs by state government, by central government. We have Amrit, we have Swachh Bharat Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission also plays a very important role because though they say that functional tap at every household, but in there, if you look at the Jal Jeevan Mission also, the one of the aspect is the source sustainability. So convergence is of utmost importance that we have these all Amrit, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Catch the Rain, Namami Gange, this and that. And they are run by the different ministries. So like Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Ministry of Jal Shakti, and then when it comes to the regulation part, then we come the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Central Pollution Control Board. So there has to be convergence of human resources and also the financial resources. That will help any urban local bodies to basically better structure and plan their mechanism and put more efforts for the rejuvenation of the water body. So first, I would say convergence among the different programs. There exists some informal convergence. The best example, I would say that very recently under the activities under Manrega, the water conservation activities are now qualified. They are included, which is a very good thing. The second thing is that for any urban local bodies, either they are dependent on the state financial resources or the central government financial resources, they should, and under this 73rd and 74th amendment in Constitution now, urban local bodies have autonomous power. They should work very sincerely towards devising a revenue mechanism. If they are putting any effort to rejuvenate water bodies apart from the ecosystem services, climate change adaptation, that flood management things, they should be able to generate some kind of a revenue. That will provide a free hand to urban local bodies because that will be their own generated money where they can, invest in other those kind of activities. And also that will make that attractive for them. So, because if we just say that money is coming from central government, you have to clean your 2 ponds. No, I don't think urban local government, the mayor or, the the local leader or the corporate, they say what we are getting from that. But some revenue where you see that, okay, the money is coming to the municipality, that would be really helpful. And third thing again comes to, as in the Namami Gange mission also we talk about people river connect. In this case, people and water body connect. As a common citizen, everyone cannot just remain the beneficiary of any ecosystem services or the government's provision. Every citizen has to connect with that. There are a lot of public awareness is happening now. Under the Namami Gange, there is a separate pillar which is called the Jan Ganga. Jan is like the people, and then Ganga. It means people participation. It is of utmost, importance that we all connect with the water bodies. And if you look historically, the Indian communities traditionally have always remained connected with the water bodies. You look any kind of a social event, cultural event, or religious event, they all are in water bodies. Somehow that has weakened. I will not say lost completely, but this people participation is also that we need to put additional efforts, not only the government but also as a citizen.
Okay, so there are 3 points that he has raised. Just to reiterate for the benefit of the audience, one is he is stressing a lot of emphasis on the need for convergence, which is actually has been one of the key and long-standing points most of the seminars or most of the thought process, even within the government and outside the government. Number 2, he is saying that financial sustainability, if the city governments can find out some financial resources out of that water body, it will be easier for them to sustain and preserve those water bodies. That's number 2. Number 3, he is stressing on the importance of people water connect, which means largely that what he's saying is, how do people own the water bodies? And once there is a ownership from among the people, the nearby communities or the city, people living in the city, then there is a better probability or higher probability of preservation of these water bodies. Now, let us keep this apart. There are the concept of water per se, and there are various new frameworks that are coming into picture. Somebody says, or some organization says, water sensitive urban design. Okay. Number 2, somebody says sponge cities. What are sponge cities? Sponge, in the sense that our cities should be designed in a manner that it is able to soak water, in the sense that there are various groundwater recharging systems and places and avenues within the city that water percolates under the ground, and therefore the city becomes and behaves like a sponge. Sponge is able to retract the water, right? Then there is this, maybe say World Bank, ADB, and other such organizations. They come up with various frameworks. Somebody comes up with WISER, integrating climate change, circularity in water. I'm thinking from the perspective of a city government. For example, if I am a mayor or a commissioner, or I am head of a local body government, an executive officer or a commissioner, I get so bogged down because of so many of these frameworks that I do not understand what is the way to go. Where should I start with? Okay. So Sumit, just to ask you, and because you are an expert in this domain, what are the 3, or maybe say what should be the steps that if a city government which does not have very high level technical capacity, if they want to start with rejuvenating one of their lakes, what should they do in terms of 5 or 6 or 3 or 4 steps?
Actually, it's a little difficult question, because I totally agree with you that there are so many framework guidelines. You do this in this way or that way, and having n number of paper on table, anyone would get confused which one to choose. So I would, here talk about the coordinations. So basically, coordination among the different entities, be it donor agencies or technical cooperation, development cooperation, government, all those things, to have a coordinated structure to come up a region specific guideline or document or the framework to be implemented. It cannot remain same. And uh, and for that everyone has to basically I would say leave that this is my framework, it should be implemented, or this is my document, or this belongs to my organization, this gives me more visibility. Ultimately uh, everyone has to be brought on a one table, discuss what would be the best thing, and that kind of a coordination and cooperation has actually started and has showed a lot of successes in India. For example, I would give my example, like when we are working on the river basin management approaches with Namami Gange mission, the World Bank, and then German Development Corporation, we have joined the forces. We are working together. Now for urban local body, anything, see, they will, as such, if they do not have any, revenue, it will start coming once they have rejuvenated or put any effort. So they traditionally would go by the central government or any funding agency which is giving them money. So for example, if we talk about Jal Shakti Abhiyan or Amrit Sarovar and this rural area, that Khet Talab Yojana, so they know these are the guidelines, I do this much and I will get money from the government. Now, one thing here could be that I'm not sure if the freedom can be given that you do it, you decide how you do it, and the government, but you have to achieve that milestone and then funding will be released to you. So in that case, for urban local bodies, it really becomes very difficult to, extend their arms out of the any funding this one scheme. I would say that steps for any urban local bodies could be basically the first and foremost which comes in my mind is the capacity building. They have to get capacitated at certain level. There are so many programs and events happening, though so many programs are run by government. And as you also mentioned about the climate change adaptation, I think any effort if we put towards a rejuvenation of any water body or any water conservation, and this is also true not only for water, for energy also in any field, climate change adaptation is an spontaneous and automatic co-benefit of anything. Uh, I'm sorry, I will not be, just saying anything, but it's really difficult question for me that what 4 or 5 steps an urban local body can take, given that they are technical capacities are not so great and they are also bound by the financial mechanisms.
That's okay. I mean, it is not an easy answer, I know, but I thought like we'll draw some points for discussion based on your experience. I have been working with cities for almost like 17, 18 years now. Have worked with Agra Municipal Corporation to Chandigarh, and then in Dharamshala and parts of East Africa, including in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So yes, city government's capacity is very limited. But in my view, the place where they could start with is probably thinking very logically, as in mapping the water bodies. How many water bodies are there in the city? Number one. Looking at how many of them and what is their status in terms of quality, what is the status in terms of water availability, what are the areas, around the water bodies, and if there are any discharge points of sewage or maybe other pollutants into those water bodies. Then looking at, how do I go about it, then chalking out a plan. Every ULB at least has one junior engineer, or maybe say one, if not an executive engineer, at least one junior engineer, and it is not a rocket science to design or think about that if I have to stop the pollution of this water bodies, what will it take? The first and logical thing is stop that. And see what you can do about the discharge that is happening, if you can plug that discharge and then see where that discharge goes. Okay. Third is involving the communities. That's very important because if this community starts taking ownership in terms of, starts playing a role of monitoring the flow of discharges into the water bodies, that's a very, very great advantage. You do not have to police around, and you do not have to take many steps which, community itself will be able to take. And then maybe thinking, further, ex situ, in situ processes of rejuvenation or reviving the water bodies. Now, we have talked about community participation. We have talked about how should the city think about it. Sumit, where do you think the technology plays a role? Both largely focused on smart technologies or digital technologies. Now that we are in this, entire Smart City Expo, and it's largely focused on, digital technologies and use of digital technologies as well as advanced hardware technologies. I remember in Nainital, Naini Lake, UNDP had installed. By that time, I used to be with UNDP at, as part of one of their projects, they had installed an IoT based sensor to continuously assess the quality of water bodies. But apart from that, what do you think the technology plays a role in terms of not only quality monitoring, but any other aspects of monitoring or the health of water bodies?
I would say immense. Now, with this, that advent of all digitalization, everything is going digital, and especially post-COVID area. In COVID time, we have seen that everything became digital, office, meeting, and all those things. Technology can be leveraged for each and everything related to water conservation, rejuvenation of water bodies, monitoring. I will just give one example. You see that now we have this digital real-time monitoring and everything for air quality. And in Delhi, that's why I've been living in Delhi for last 6 years, almost every citizen knows about the AQI. Today it is bad, today is good. It has reached to 400, 300. How? Because that information is accessible to them through the use of this technology. So similarly, it becomes very important. So not only for, and it starts, with the very first step, the mapping. So you have to, when everything is on the digital dashboard, it is available on the, for the people, the tab, open a tab. I think Mahua has also started mapping all the water bodies and putting onto this. So people know that there is like this much water bodies I have in my locality, or this was actually a pond or encroached. People can also use to, put, take a picture, this is happening, and providing real-time feedback that someone dumped the solid waste here. I would give one good example. There is a Paandhoi river. It's called Paandhoi, like in Hindi. And that time, it's an old, this one, there was this Jal Shakti secretary, Shri Upendra Singh Ji, UP Singh Ji. And he thought that, I think this river is in Muzaffarnagar or Saharanpur. And it has turned into a complete drain. And the people do not know that it is a river, because they have never seen it's flowing as a clean water and those things. So technology, if you put, that provide access to people for the governance, for monitoring, for feedback, and also, to stop any kind or prohibit any kind of encroachment, those things, it's really useful. And I think we can, in this today's time, we cannot think of doing this water conservation or anything without using appropriate technologies. I would give another example now. Namami Ganga, that National Mission for Ganga, they have started a war room. If you go sometime visit their office, it is called Prayag, performing real-time monitoring of Yamuna and Ganga. And they have developed this Ganga Tarang, a dashboard, which was like initially German support was there. And basically it has linked all the STPs in Uttarakhand, real-time monitoring, live feedback coming to NMCG. They have extended it to all the STPs which they are constructing, like 6,000 MLD STP. Then the construction of STPs happening, they are getting the real feed. I would like to mention here that one of the Asia's largest STP is being constructed in Delhi, 540 MLD in Okhla. It is like Namami Ganga and then Delhi Jal Board. So in that they are getting all information. Kumbh preparation, they are getting the real life feed, what is happening. Any special occasion in Haridwar or any ghat, they are getting the progress report, how people are doing, whether they are dustbin kept or not. So technology is just to, like, cannot be put in words that how technology can be used. I think every thing related to these activities or rejuvenation, technology can play a massive role for the success.
I have been asked to stop, hard stop. Just a moment, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. I got it, sir. Sir, my question is to Dr. Sumit ji. Sir, in the same platform in 2019, when a German lady was heading geese, she told about rejuvenation of base water and surface water of Namami Gange. So from then till now, what is the transformation which has happened, sir?
So, base water and surface water, very good. So if we look at the entire Ganga basin, I would say with a certain confidence, the groundwater is not an issue because it's a young alluvial soil, the aquifer is shallow, and having the perennial availability of water in Ganga. There is a huge amount of groundwater which is available in Ganga basin. The only thing is the contamination because it is a shallow and nutrient, and then all those things are coming. And the second thing is the train. Though the groundwater stage of development is not critical or semi-critical, but if you look at the train, it might reach to that because of the agriculture activity. Namami Gange has extended from 2018 and 19 to cover all the aspects related to base flow also to address those things. One of the thing related to base flow is preventing the pollution. That is the main thing because groundwater still remains the most protected and safest source of domestic consumption. Surface water, we have contaminated all water bodies and we are rejuvenating them. So that under the Earth Ganga concept of Namami Gange, they are talking about the zero budget natural farming. 5 kilometer on the either side of the Ganga, main Ganga, only zero budget natural farming, no pesticide. That will support to have a good quality of the base flow. This is happening. Lot of research and studies NMCG has initiated on the interaction of the subsurface water and then surface water, and how it helps to maintain the flow during the dry season. So NMCG is continuously evolving and adding new things into this.
Thanks, Sumit. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to take any further questions, but just a lasting, thought point. I think there are devices in the market from which and by which we can measure our power consumption. Are there also devices in the market through which we can measure our water consumption at the household level? For example, how much water did I use while bathing? How much water did I use while flushing? How much water did I use? And if that is available on my mobile phone, I'll be much more conscious. So I'll just leave you with this thought process. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sumit. Thanks a lot.